It's March, everybody. Selection Sunday has passed and the bracket is released. I'm Zach Card, here to give you information to at least postpone your bracket from busting. Now let's get straight into it with the Auburn Tigers. Auburn had a rough stretch later in the SEC play during the end of the season and lost 8 out of 11 games they played, but those 8 losses don't give you the full picture though. Outside of the 32-point loss to Kentucky, Auburn lost those games by an average margin of just 6 points. In the same time frame, Auburn is ranked as the 28th best team in the country by Bart Torvik. Torvik's T ranking takes the offensive and defensive efficiency from how many points a team scores and allows over the course of 100 possessions. Ken Pomeroy, the creator of the uber-popular college basketball metric KenPom, has ranked Auburn as the 29th best team. KenPom also uses offensive and defensive efficiency, but also takes a look at strength of schedule and margin of wins and puts that into account. Getting back to Auburn, Janai Broome needs to be a huge part of the team for the Tigers if they hope to go on a deep run in this tournament. Katie Johnson's a player that looks like he's coming into form after his 20-point performance in the SEC tournament. He could be trouble if he continues to play well. And now maybe the most important player on this Auburn team, Wendell Green Jr. When Wendell plays well, Auburn plays well. When Wendell doesn't play well, Auburn also doesn't play too well. The entire offense runs through Wendell Green, and sometimes to a fault. In the closing seconds of the SEC tournament game against Arkansas, the red-hot Katie Johnson was given an opportunity to take the last shot and couldn't get open. Bruce called a timeout, a very good timeout in my opinion, to run an inbound play with 3 seconds left. The ball found its way to Wendell, who missed the last shot, but that's neither here nor there. Without Wendell Green, the offense sputters. Auburn's first round matchup is against Iowa, who can score with the best of them. Iowa comes in 37 in both KenPom and T rankings, but have the 3rd best offense in both metrics. Auburn will have their hands full with the excellent shooting of Iowa. The Hawkeyes average over 80 points a game, and one reason their offensive output is that high is that they don't turn the ball over. They are the 8th best team in the country at turnover percentage. Leading the Hawkeyes is Chris Murray, the younger brother of last year's 4th overall pick in the NBA draft, who also played for Iowa, Keegan Murray. Chris Murray averages 20 points a game and 7 rebounds. One little interesting fact, Bruce Pearl used to be an assistant for Iowa back in the 90s and is said to be the main recruiter to bring the Murray's father, Kenyon, to Iowa. Iowa versus Auburn will be in Birmingham on Thursday at 5:30 in the Legacy Arena. The game will be aired on TNT. When we come back, we'll have some information for the other 7 teams from the SEC to make the big dance. Stick around. Welcome back to the March Madness Special. I'm your host, Zach Card. 8 schools from the Southeastern Conference made the tournament this year. The SEC is tied with the Big 12 for the most teams to make it in this year. Starting with the #1 overall seed in the tournament, Alabama. Not much can be said about this team that hasn't already been said. Across the season, the Tide come in nationally at 12th in defensive efficiency and 19th in offense. Led by freshman phenom Brandon Miller, Auburn is a favorite for many bracketologists in this tournament. Miller averages just under 20 points a night and 8 rebounds. Alabama also plays in Birmingham for a near home court advantage just an hour away from Tuscaloosa. Auburn will play the winner of Texas A&M Corpus Christi or Southeast Missouri State. That game will be on Thursday at 1:30 on CBS. Coming in second during regular SEC season play, the Texas A&M Aggies hold the 7th seed in the Midwest region. You may be asking, if they finish second in the SEC regular season, why are they a lower seed than other SEC schools such as Tennessee and Kentucky, who we'll hit on later? Well, the selection committee made a decision to put the Aggies so low based on their non-conference schedule at the beginning of the year. Texas A&M struggled early in the season but found their stride as the SEC schedule began. The Aggies went 10-6 in non-conference with losses to non-tournament teams such as Murray State, Colorado, and Wofford. Texas A&M looks to silence the doubters in their first-round matchup against Penn State. That game is in Des Moines, Iowa, on Thursday at 8:45 p.m. on TBS. Moving on to Tennessee, the Vols have the 2nd highest seed out of all SEC teams as a 4 seed in the East region. Tennessee is missing starter Zakai Ziegler, who led the team in assists and steals on the season, despite missing the last few games of the year. Since losing Ziegler, the Volunteers hold a 1-2 record, with the win coming in their opening game of the SEC tournament against Ole Miss. It will be interesting to see how Tennessee addresses their turnover problem without Ziegler. One player that should help with that turnover problem is their star player Santiago Vescovi, who leads the team and is the next closest player in assists on the season. The Vols take on Louisiana Raging Cajuns in Orlando on Thursday at 8:30 on CBS. Auburn fans know firsthand how dangerous Kentucky can be after the 32-point beatdown in Lexington a few weeks ago. Kentucky is the 14th best offensive team according to KenPom, and that really showed against Auburn in the second half especially. The Wildcats are led by last season's Wooden Award winner, Oscar Tshiebwe. Despite having less points and rebounds than last year, Tshiebwe still averages 16 points and 13 rebounds a night. Because of Tshiebwe, Kentucky is the second best offensive rebounding team and the 57th best defensive rebounding team. 57 may sound far back, but remember, this is out of 363 teams, so 57 is not so bad. The Wildcats take on the Providence Friars in Greensboro, North Carolina on Friday at 6 p.m. on CBS. Next up, the 7th seed in the South region, Missouri. The Tigers have the 9th best offense in the country according to KenPom and the 10th best according to T-Ranking. They can score with the best of them. Leading the Tigers in scoring are Kobe Brown with 15 points and Demoy Hodge with 14 points a game. Missouri has a tough 7-10 matchup against Utah State in Sacramento. That game is on Thursday at 12:20 on TNT. Utah State, a little background about them, is ranked as the 18th best team in the country by KenPom despite being a 10 seed. Next, the Arkansas Razorbacks found themselves in the tournament after winning just one out of their previous 5 matchups, the one win against Auburn. Despite the recent struggles, Arkansas are the 18th best team according to T-Ranking and the 20th in the KenPom rankings. Arkansas came into the season with lofty expectations behind head coach Eric Musselman and stars Ricky Council IV, Nick Smith Jr., and Anthony Black. The Razorbacks take on Illinois in the round of 64 in Des Moines, Iowa on Thursday at 3:20 on CBS. Next up, Mississippi State barely eked their way into the big dance as one of the last 4 teams in. The Bulldogs will face Pittsburgh in the first 4 in Dayton. Mississippi State made their way to the tournament off great defensive play. KenPom and T-Ranking have the Bulldogs as the 9th best defensive team in the country. One player to keep an eye on for Mississippi State is Tolu Smith. Smith is the only player for the Bulldogs to average over 10 points a night with just over 15. Smith also leads them in rebounds with over 8. The game is Tuesday night at 8 p.m. and will be on True TV. When we come back, we'll talk about my predictions for the Final Four this year. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the March Madness special on Eagle Eye TV. Last segment of the day, I'm going to give you some of my predictions for the Final Four and the championship. The first and probably most picked spot goes to Purdue. Purdue won the Big Ten regular season and the tournament this season. To me, they're the best team in the country with the best player in the country in Zach Edey. The next spot in the Final Four is coming out of the South region, Arizona. The Wildcats have a very tough possible path in the bracket with wins coming over Utah State, Creighton, and Alabama possibly to make it to Houston. I can understand someone's hesitance in the pick, but Arizona is the 4th in KenPom offense while playing against the 9th hardest defensive strength of schedule. They've scored among the best, against the best, and that bodes well for the tournament. Coming out of the East region for me is the Longhorns of Texas. KenPom gives Texas the rank of 6th overall in the country. Texas has the 19th best offense and the 11th best defense against the 6th hardest schedule. The 4th and final spot goes to 4 seed Connecticut. Let me start with this. Every year, we have a slightly lower seed, like a 4 or 5, makes it to the Final Four. Auburn did it just a few years ago. And UConn is the best fourth seed team in the country. They are the fourth best team in the country according to KenPom, and not just a fourth seed for KenPom, the fourth best. The Huskies have the sixth best offensive rating and the 18th best defense. They also lead the country in offensive rebounding according to T-Ranking, behind the big man Adama Sanogo. The championship I've set is Purdue against UConn, and the champion is Purdue. The Purdue Boilermakers just seem flat out like the best team this year, but Big Ten often does struggle in the tournament, so we'll see how that turns out. That does it for Eagle Eye's March Madness Special. I'm Zach Hard, and good luck to everyone's brackets.